Let's go ahead and get into it. Well, Mr. Dave Schilling, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate you taking time and joining with us, you know what I'm saying, this evening. How are you, sir? You doing all right this evening?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm happy to be talking about the craziest fucking week in wrestling history ever. As far as I'm concerned, this is like stacks on stacks on stacks of fucked up shit and just things to talk about. It's WrestleMania season, and Vince McMahon is a pervert.
I'm gonna go ahead and take a shot because we're gonna go ahead and get into some crazy conversation.
Oh my God, my brother! That's that opening line is gonna be. I cannot wait.
Well, if you have, listen. If you haven't seen the news, if you've been under a rock, you know what I'm saying? Of course, Vince McMahon is a pervert. All of these allegations, this lawsuit, these details are just freaking egregious. They're disgusting. Like when we talked about it last week when the news first dropped, I hadn't really read too much into it because it like literally dropped maybe like hours before we were recording here. I got into some of that stuff. I was like, oh my goodness. I feel so bad. So bad. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For the people that were involved in the victim. I don't want to say her name, but it's just super unfortunate, super disgusting details that were just far too disgusting for us to share in detail here. But Dave, what were your initial thoughts when you heard the news of this and when you kind of looked into what was going on here?
I wasn't surprised. I don't think anybody who ever interacted with Vince McMahon, worked there, knew what it was like in the office, was surprised that he was having affairs. It was kind of like common knowledge that he was sleeping around, that him and Linda were not really together, right? Like
together.
She lives, who the fuck knows? I Florida or something. Like she's not around. She hasn't come to the office. She doesn't have a title at the company. So we knew something was going on with Vince, right? And there were rumors in 2019 when I was there that he was having relations. That if he wasn't on time for a meeting, it was because he was having relations. And so I wasn't surprised that it was happening, but I was surprised that it was so fucked up, that it was so bad. And again, like if you haven't heard what happened and you're still on the fence about if this guy is really the worst piece of shit on the planet, read the entire 70-page document. I did. I stayed up one night and I'm like, I'm just going to read the whole thing. And then I realized it was starting when I was still in the company, that he was having these, because she first started coming around WrestleMania 35 when I was there. And he would text during the production meetings, and he'd just be on his phone laughing to himself. We're all trying to talk about doing fucking Raw or SmackDown or like making WrestleMania, and he's just like, what's going on my fucking phone? And I don't know. Like as soon as I read this, I thought he's done. His career in wrestling is over, and it should be. It should have been over a long time ago. And all these guys who are talking about how Vince McMahon's a piece of shit now, like all the old veterans coming out on their podcasts that they do with whoever the fuck is like their pimp, giving them ad revenue. They're like, oh, Vince is horrible. I knew. Like, well, why didn't you do anything? You thought it was funny that he was having affairs with whoever. You thought it was a joke.
Hey, yo, I think the best part about this, that's kind of like when keeping it real goes wrong, was that he was really the catalyst of his own demise. Because, like, remember they tried to push him out? They tried to push him out like a year and a half ago. Like, listen, man, Triple H is going to run this joint right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to run this right here. You know what I'm saying? Listen, you can bow out. Listen, Stephanie's back in there. But he, just like an old nigga do, you know what I mean? Couldn't help himself. You know what I mean? Getting all in the way. I need to sell this company, and not knowing that you're selling to some real ass fucking sharks.
These are real Hollywood people, right?
Yeah,
these are people.
This is Ari.
Ari Emmanuel is not going to be like, yeah, you know what? Let's keep Vince around just because we love the old guy, and we can just deny and spend a bunch of money on lawyers and keep this from ever like being a big story. It's a big story. The first time when it first came out, and it was just like, oh yeah, here's this hush money payment. We all thought it was bad. But now that we know what happened, it's beyond, right? Like it's beyond fucked up. And he can never come back.
Oh, my bad. But I want to touch on something you said a second ago. You were like the allegations that happened before, and people didn't know the gory details about what was happening. So a lot of it was swept under the rug. They were like, well, he paid her off, or he paid them off, so they can't have that much of a problem with it, and they signing NDAs. So, and now like a lot of people who stood up and said, hey, like if you have to literally sign them to an NDA, you must have done some fucked up shit. And we all assumed that, but there were a lot of people within media, old, like you said, like old timers and people who were, brought up by Vince McMahon, who literally were like, whatever he does, I still love him. I called it like the Bill Cosby effect. Like it's like, oh, because he on TV every week, and you had so many like older people who was hard for them to give it up. And it's like a lot of wrestling fans are the same way. Oh, but if it wasn't for Vince, there would be no wrestling. I'm like, I'm pretty sure wrestling was around before Vince McMahon like did what he did with WWE.
There are motherfuckers who would think that it would be better if he was not around, if he never fucking did wrestling, if he just stayed in North Carolina for the rest of his life. Like, there are people who think that he ruined wrestling, like straight up ruined it. And I think we do really love that guy, the character, the guy that announced WrestleMania 10, and the guy that Austin poured beer on, and all those things that we remember from the character. But this is a real dude, and all of the stuff that people like really loved him for in the company, that he was a shark, that he was tough, that he was scary and intimidating. Like, those are the ways in which he abused women. Right? Like, if Vince McMahon used the tools that he developed to get a finish in the ring to get someone to have non-consensual sex with him in the office. Like, it's the same thing. The guy is a master manipulator, and you see it in the text messages. You see it in the way that the timeline works out with how it started with this woman and how it ended. It's the same thing as how he treats the wrestlers.
It ain't no different than any other billionaire. You know what I mean? Like, you hear these stories about a whole bunch of billionaires, how they just talk to people, and like how they think that you're just whatever what it is. And like I don't know, like, you're always going to try to make excuses for the people that say, well, he did do WrestleMania 1, which was ass, and he was there for it. You know what I'm saying? He fucking lied to his dad. He was on his deathbed, but at least we got this.
Vince McMahon is not a genius. I'll tell you that, right? I say this all the time. Me and Chris Dunn, who I know has been on the show before, was at WWE with me at the same time. That's how we met and became friends. Great writer. Really was there for a lot of the best shit that happened in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
We always talk about, like, what did Vince really accomplish? How did he get this idea that he's a genius? Like, think about all the shit he did that sucked. Okay, he gets Hulk Hogan, right? Hulk Hogan, he takes from the AWA. He says, I'm gonna make a big star. Didn't create the character of Hulk Hogan. Didn't come up with his name, his look, none of it. He, for 9 years or whatever, it's the company is a rocket ship. And then Hogan goes, and then what does Vince do? I don't know. Let's have Mantar. Let's have fucking
oh god.
Let's have Duke the Dumpster Droese and Isaac Yankem.
DDS.
Vince is not a good writer. Half the time he's not a good booker. Think about how terrible it was to watch Raw and SmackDown for years after WCW died. There were years where it was good or not so good or whatever.
Yeah, it goes in waves.
It goes in waves.
Like Little Baby versus right now.
But like 5 years ago, it was dog shit. It was unwatchable. Yeah. And that's why AEW exists today. AEW only exists because Vince McMahon was such a horrible booker and so out of touch that somebody with $1 billion could just say, well, what if I did it like a little different and not that much better, but better so that people will watch it and not this shit? It was so bad. Vince McMahon is not a genius. And he is a terrible person, period.
I think, and I don't know, speaking of the possible terrible people, Chris Jericho, kind of he said like Vince McMahon is kind of like a good filter. Like his thing is kind of being able to take your idea and being able to take it from this to this, or like he's like
put some parsley on it.
That is also bullshit. That is
some Parmesan
bullshit.
cheese and some extra virgin olive oil on it. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't do anything like that. Vince McMahon made every idea worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every single one. He got Ricochet, and he's like, well, what if we put a cape on him? What if we put a bullet sound at the beginning of his theme music? There was a day we had to, like, everybody was responsible for nicknames for Ricochet.
Yeah.
And they were all just dog shit, like the man from outer space or something. Like, why are we doing this? Why are you asking me for nicknames for Ricochet? He's already called Ricochet. Yeah. The best thing he does is wrestle. Just let him do that. And that's where Tony Khan came in, right? Tony Khan said, what if I just let him wrestle? Why don't I just let him beat themselves? And that was revolutionary 5 years ago. Not so much now, but you wanted that opportunity for these dudes to just, and the women too, to be able to do what they do well without a guy like Vince McMahon getting in the way.
Exactly.
Okay, so I feel that. Go ahead, Ben.
And on top of like what you said about like what Graham said about filtering ideas, there was like the prideful nature of it. Like you literally bought a company, and instead of using their ideas, every hero that they had come in, you're like, I gotta kill these guys to make sure like people know we're the top dog. Like you bring in every like former hero from WCW all the way down to fucking Sting, and you're like, nah, I gotta kill him in front of everybody.
But that's how he treated that woman. He booked these guys the same way he treated that woman. He said, come on in, I'll pay you millions of dollars, I'll put you on WrestleMania, you'll win the title at some point, you'll sell a bunch of t-shirts, and then a few months later, he's like, BMW. You motherfucker, lay down. You're losing tonight to Triple H, or you're losing tonight to whoever, Booker T and Triple H at WrestleMania. I'm sure Vince sold it like, you're going to be in the title match at WrestleMania, and it's going to be you, and it's going to be Triple H, and it's going to be in the stadium. It's going to be fantastic. And then it's like, well, okay, he's going to do the pedigree on you, and then for 10 seconds, you're just going to lay there. And then he's going to crawl over, and then he's going to cover you. And by the way, a few months before that, he's going to say all kinds of fucked up shit about your race. Be super racist for the whole build, and then you're going to do a job. Like, that's how he treated this woman. He built her up, he tore her down, built her up, tore her down, and that's what he does to every wrestler. That's it. That's why they're so dedicated to him, because they desire his praise so much.
His affection and his praise. Yeah,
he's an abusive father.
Yeah, bro,
and you're right. And there's so many people that look at him and have said on record they look at him like a father figure.
Bret Hart says it. Bret Hart,
you got your own daddy.
He got fucked over worse than anybody. Vince fucked him over in public. Yeah, and he's still like, man, I learned so much from Vince.
You spit in his face in front of your compatriots. Yeah, and he was like, yo, man, but he cool though.
He crossed the one line you don't cross in wrestling, which is don't change the finish and screw somebody over in the middle of the match.
Don't work the boys, right?
He worked everybody, and Bret's still like, oh, you know what? He killed my brother, but whatever.
So it's like, have you guys, are any of you guys familiar with like Iceberg Slim? It's like that part in the in his book is like, yo. Like he did all that, like he talked to the older pimp. Like he's like, yo, how do I get her to stay in line? That's Vince McMahon. Like Vince McMahon is the older pimp.
He's in the game. He's walking down the street with his cane and his fucking hat and his Cadillac. That's who he is. He's a pimp.
So he's definitely selling that blue magic.
So with these, that's funny. So with the reports in regards to like Ari Emmanuel and like what like TKO's response to this is going to be, and like I think it said something to the effect of like, the links that he would go to to protect his investment, you know what I mean, in WWE, and basically, the possibility of getting rid of anybody that was connected to Vince McMahon in any way, who may have possibly been in on this, who may have known about about it, clued in on it, and didn't do anything about it. Like where do you think that like this can go? Like and like how far up the chain that this can be affected as far as who's there and who can be taken out of power, or you know what I mean? Like what the landscape of WWE could look like if like they just really bring the hammer down and say this person's got to go for this, that, or the third.
Well, Stephanie McMahon's gone for a reason. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
If you think she didn't know anything, you're being naive. I'm sure she knew something. Everybody says that Stephanie's a wonderful person. I don't want to malign her publicly, but the chances are good that she knew something. Bruce Pritchard should probably take another month off to have another surgery or something. Like he should go back to Houston. It doesn't seem like it's a good thing. I was there when he came back.
Yeah.
And he was yeah. I was gonna say I was there when he came back, and Pritchard was not really aware of how to make television in 2019. Like he understood wrestling and he liked to tell stories and stuff. He wasn't like I was with him for a pre-tape. I forget who it was, what the talent was, but I was just like, I'll shadow you and I'll learn how to do this. And he just kind of like bullshitted with everybody and like waved the script in everyone's face and was like, cut, action. He didn't do anything. There was no work being done.
There was that report around
the tweet. Oh, my bad. You want to
wait? What?
Real quick.
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Tweet about Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard is basically Vince's avatar. If he's still around, Vince still has his hand in the business. Vince was still running things through Bruce when he was gone before.
So, do we think that could have the same effect now that it would have maybe then when like maybe a year ago when Vince was first coming back versus like now when like TKO is like taking ownership over the company and like the roles in WWE have kind of been, I don't know, as far as like I feel like the power has shifted a little bit.
No, the power has definitely shifted, especially when like WWE's been a publicly traded company for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now like a fully like selling, like you couldn't sell without me. And now you sold it to Ari Emmanuel. Like I can't wait. Listen, Ari Emmanuel is gonna Vince McMahon the same way he did to his dad. It's gonna be so hilarious. You're gonna be like, yeah, I ain't gonna do none of that shit. Listen, whatever you don't want me to do, my nigga, I ain't about to do that. And as soon as he goes away, he'll be like, listen, man, whatever he said we ain't gonna do, we gonna do that shit. Listen, Paul, I need you to do the great stuff. And then all that, like, I can't wait. That's the only thing that's gonna happen. Business is business. Once you give up, like he gave it up. Like he was the one that didn't give up. Like he did. Like he did some job. He did the job to Donald Trump in 2007. But that's it. But you know what I mean? Like he gave it up when he made it a public. Like, listen, buy it. I need money.
I'm a cynical guy, and I think that everybody's always working everybody else, especially in wrestling. There's always a plan. Somebody's gonna try to get over. In my opinion, and this is not any inside information because I don't have any of that, but I do have a gut instinct. And my gut instinct is Hunter and Nick Khan made sure this happened. They murked him. They knew he was vulnerable. They knew that he was advancing in age and not as sharp as he used to be. And they knew that he had shit in his closet. And they said, let's start getting it out there.
Succession.
Let's convince Vince McMahon to sell the company. So somehow, I'm not saying Hunter went to Vince and said sell the company because I don't think Vince would have listened to him. But I think somebody said to Vince, let's sell the company. That's how you get back in. Let's sell to TK. Let's sell to Endeavor. And by doing that, he unwittingly surrendered all of his power. I think this was a plan.
Well, hypothetically, maybe that person would be Nick Khan, because I feel like Nick Khan has like gone on record and said Triple H was the person that introduced him to the WWE family, that kind of brought him in and like by kind of like been like the proxy between like, you know, him and like Vince as far as like creative and like, you know, whatever they've been doing as far as like how the company is run and like transitioning over in this time or whatever. It kind of seems like Nick Khan has been playing chess a little bit with
Stringer
the
bell?
moves that are being made.
He's
as
the power
WWE
broker.
president.
Stringer bell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
and
Stringer Bell from The Wire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's Stringer bell. Like he's in the middle.
He's a fan.
Mhm.
He knows The Rock really well. They have a good relationship. So he's got Dwayne's phone number, his influence, his power. And he's got Triple H and Stephanie, who obviously at some point were like, this motherfucker, our dad, our father-in-law, has to go.
So what do you think happened with them voting him back into power though? Because at first, like they were saying, like that Nick and Stephanie and Triple H had all voted against it, and then they had come back to the table, and then it was like I don't know, almost unanimous decision or whatever to put Vince back into power. Like what do you like? Maybe I don't know. Like what do you speculate that decision was about, and why they, I don't know, kind of 180'd on that?
When you realize, like, here's what's the dominoes that are gonna fall.
Effect. Yeah.
If you do this, like, I think that they had to get their ducks in a row. They had to figure out, like, how are we going to convince this man to sell the company, and who are they going to sell it to, and how do we ensure that what is in that deal is going to be beneficial to us, and that we have some way to like get him out, because you couldn't just keep him out forever. He had too much controlling interest in the company, too many votes on the board. The second that they sell and somebody else is in charge, then he's vulnerable to anything. He has a bunch of stock, but he doesn't have the power to influence the decision making in the company anymore.
And
so do you think that there's any
go ahead.
Do you think that there's any like coincidence with, you know, like his resignation and this news dropping and The Rock coming on the board of TKO and all of that? Like I feel like there might be something to that, but that's just me like spitballing and like throwing shit into the air. Like I feel like like they had to have known something was coming, and I just feel like to kind of, I don't know, necessarily put a band-aid over that. I don't want to say that, but like kind of say like moving this piece and moving that piece to the background type of thing.
I don't think they knew this shit was going to come out. It was horrible timing. If they did know, they should have been like, wait a week.
Way more
so
prepared,
Royal Rumble, Hunter had no statement prepared at the press conference. The fact that they even did the press conference is insane. Like, what were you thinking there? Like, just don't do it, or do it and have a prepared statement saying something that a publicist has looked over, the lawyers looked over, that is going to be protect your ass, but also get yourself on the right side of history. And all he did was deflect, like Tony Khan would have. It was the most Tony Khan moment in Triple H's entire life.
Do you think maybe like Triple H should have just addressed it like off the top and just said, here's the thing. I know that
prepared statement,
and that's all I'm going to say on it.
Yep.
What's that going to do?
I feel like that maybe would have softened the blow a little bit to you know, him being asked the question, you know, multiple times, I believe 3 times in a row consecutively, and deflecting each time.
You should have been like, yo, talk to that fired ass nigga. Like, listen,
he could have said that. It would have been better.
Great grandfather, he over there eating applesauce, watching TV. He's watching.
Would have been a lot better than saying nothing.
Because it got to a point where he was kind of getting irritated. Like you can tell, like when they were asking the next question, he's like, "I can't even hear what you're saying. Somebody get him a microphone. I can't hear in here." Like it was, you could tell it was getting to him. Like it like you said, it would have been better if you would have had something prepared. But I guess you just wanted to go off the top. I guess he didn't expect everybody to ask that question, because like a lot of the WWE press conferences they have, let's be honest, they've been softball questions. Like we're not asking real stuff. We're asking like stuff like within character, where we're asking like stuff like public stuff, like on the business side, like, oh, what about the Netflix deal? Things along that line. We're not like asking like things of this nature. So I don't really think he thought anybody had the balls to like say like, hey, what's going on, Vince?
Only thing you got to do is have Shawn Michaels answer all the questions. Be like, yo, Shawn, come on. Answer these questions for me real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, you can throw your weight around.
Sean is good. He's good.
He's pretty good. I believe he spoke on it today, if I'm not mistaken, with the NXT media call going into Vengeance Day. We'll probably get into that a little bit later as far as our predictions for that show. He like, I think he was saying like it was just, a disgusting thing, and that he's aware that there's a large influx of young ladies coming into NXT, maybe impressionable, and that they've got to have some barricades or some things in place to make sure that, these women feel comfortable coming forward, if there's a situation or, anything that makes them feel like, things are, not necessarily right or in the right place or whatever with the company or with an individual that may be making them feel away. And I think that's, commendable or whatever, but like they gotta like really get some shit in order here, because this is like from the top is like, if this is what's happening at the top of the company, I can't imagine.
It's an abusive environment across the board. At least the closer you get to the actual wrestling product, the more abusive it becomes. Like, there are people that are still on the writing team today who go out of their way to make you miserable, to break you down, to crush your spirit. I went through it. That's why I didn't last, because I didn't know how to eat shit. I'm a loudmouth. I think, that's not going to work at WWE. You can't have a lot to say. You can't have opinions. You have to be quiet. My boss told me one day, I didn't talk for a year in the meetings.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, so you want me to not talk? My two skills are talking and writing. And I wasn't doing any of that shit because there's nothing to write. It's like, I'm going to find you at WrestleMania and I'm going to pile drive you. Like, it was all so generic. And I think the promos have gotten a lot better in the last 2 years since Hunter's been in charge. They're less formulaic. There's less of this need to like squeeze in promotion for the new WWE video game or the new toy or whatever. Like, it doesn't feel quite as unnatural. Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Cody, Roman, LA Knight, all these guys are doing next level promo work. But when I was there, I was writing like the most generic promos for Kurt Angle that you could possibly imagine. So I wasn't doing any work, but like, I was there collecting a paycheck and people were treating me like shit and making fun of me and icing me out of meetings, and it was horrible.
So what are you most proud of? If I could ask, like, what are you most proud of about what
all
you
the other stuff?
That's funny. But what are you most proud of about like what you did or what you were able to get, on screen, or what you were able to get to, completion over there, as far as
God. What a question. I was very proud of my high score on the pinball machine on the second floor.
Man, let's go. Let's go. You know what I'm saying?
I ate that pinball machine for breakfast.
$sign, nigga. Yeah,
every day after work was over, I would play the pinball machine. I'm trying to think if there was something that I got on that I thought was like good, or an idea that I had. Oh, okay. So the best thing that we did, in my opinion, was right before WrestleMania. There was we were trying to figure out the build to Kofi Mania and also to the tag team ladder match. I think it ended up not even being a ladder match, but like the multi-team tag team title match. And there was another gauntlet. There was like a gauntlet every week for Kofi.
Yeah.
How are we gonna fill 2 hours? Well, what if we have Kofi wrestle for an hour? Fuck it.
You can do it.
And I think I hate when ex-WWE writers take credit for something that was not their idea and that it was a group thing. So I'm not going to say that I came up with this, but I was definitely on the side of doing this, whoever's idea it was. But it was decided that the Usos would forfeit the tag team gauntlet match because it was a tag team thing. And the Usos would get over as big time baby faces for refusing to wrestle. And then they were punished by Alexa Bliss, who was the host of WrestleMania that year for some ungodly reason. I guess they needed something for her to do. So they punished them by putting them in this big time multi-team match. And I thought that was a really great opportunity for the Usos to do something heroic, right? Like, wrestling storylines are not always about people doing the right thing. It's usually about someone doing the wrong thing, and then the other guy, the babyface, getting revenge. And I said, like, or whoever it was, I certainly agreed with this, that what you should do is have them do something truly like selfless. Everybody loves Kofi. Everybody wants to see Kofi succeed. If we want the Usos to be bigger babyfaces, they need to do something for Kofi. Because having them wrestle in that gauntlet made no sense, but we didn't have enough tag teams to do the gauntlet.
Yeah.
So they had to be in it because of the brand split.
It wouldn't have accomplished anything really, you know.
No.
And this was like a far greater thing, like you said, as far as like endearing them more to the audience and basically like expounding and evolving their characters as well, right?
Making them the greatest faction to ever live. Because what other two people is going to do that for the person who you don't even know is the leader? You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure that he gets his shine. Like, that made them the great. Listen, I ain't never seen Tully and Arn do none of that shit for Rick. You know what I mean?
It's like it's remembered way more than it would have done if they would have actually wrestled in that match, and they would have like shook their hand and been like, "Yeah, go on and do it." Like,
Good luck.
People widely, something like that. People widely remember them just being like, "We're not going to wrestle," and it hit so hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was a moment, but it was not a moment that was a traditional wrestling moment. It was a storytelling moment, and that's the thing that's frustrating, or has been, about WWE storytelling, is that it's just like it's been cookie cutter for a long time, and you're not thinking about the high level. And that's the worst part about AEW storytelling, is that they don't even come close to even WWE storytelling in terms of sophistication or motivation or anything like that. Consistent character work is like cancer to Tony Khan.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because like we were talking earlier about the AEW rankings coming back, and them trying to add legitimacy to the storytelling and their performers and competitors that way. What are your thoughts on current AEW and how Tony Khan like puts his product out there? I just kind of want to get your thoughts on this company and where they're at this moment.
I had to tap out of Dynamite last night. It was that bad. I watched the first hour.
Mm-hmm.
I got through the Hangman match, and it was just match. It was so like overfilled with wrestling. And I know there are a lot of fans out there who will be like, well, it's called wrestling, all elite wrestling. There should be wrestling. It's like, yeah, sure. But if you just keep doing matches, you lose any sort of interest in watching matches. It's just another match and another match. That's how I feel every time I go to PWG or any indie show. It's just another match. Give me a promo. Give me something. Like, mix it up. You see the same spots over and over again. There was like every match that night had a dive last night. That's one thing. Is just boring. And there's nobody's really hot. There's no character. Maybe Swerve is the guy who's the hottest right now in AEW in terms of like momentum, character work. He gets a big pop when he comes out. People love him because he's cool, right? But that's all Swerve is. He's just a cool guy. Why does Swerve want to do the things that he does? Let's talk about Hangman and Swerve for a second, because that is now like the overarching storyline of AEW. Is Swerve and Hangman hate each other. Why do Swerve and Hangman?
Right.
Why do they hate each other? How did this start? Let's go back to that. The way it started was Swerve said, I want your spot. I want to be a top guy because you dropped the ball. You fucked up. Your championship reign was mid, and I am going to take your spot because you don't care about being here. You don't want to be here. You're miserable. Yeah. Well, they went way past that to fuckers drinking blood. Motherfuckers are drinking blood in this story that was about competition. Swerve goes to the motherfucker's house and threatens to kill his baby because he wants his spot in wrestling. How the fuck does that make any sense?
I'm sitting over your kid, cuz. Look, listen, like, hey, yo, know your daddy a bitch, right? I don't know if you know. He's probably gonna cut his facial hair to a mustache after I beat his ass, right? Like, I'm not gonna tell you that, but
I don't have a problem with that part of the story, right? Because I feel like his character is supposed to be like somebody that feels like they're this this mob boss, and like they've got to like threaten people by pulling up to their houses and doing disgusting and vile things to them. Like we saw what he did to Nick Wayne when they went to his house or whatever, and they beat him bloodied or whatever in his father's training facility or whatever, right? Where the disconnect of this story kind of like happens for me is Swerve beats him twice. literally hangs him from the turnbuckle, and at that point, if you've defeated him twice, what more do you have to prove? And what I said at that time was, I don't know if I want this story to continue, because if it does, then at some point, Hangman as the babyface has to give Swerve his comeuppance. And if Swerve wins this twice in a row, and he's supposed to be the one that you're crowning as the first possible AEW black, black AEW world champion, for him to beat Hangman twice, and then for Hangman to come back and beat him one time and then get a title shot, what the fuck was all of that for?
It doesn't make any sense, but let's go back to the beginning. It was about the spot. Swerve beats him twice. Let's forget about the baby stuff, even though I feel like ultimately it was not necessary because it wasn't earned. Because it wasn't a blood feud until the actual blood came out. Like, there wasn't that much heat between them. They used the threatening the murder of the baby as just like, it's another Wednesday night on Dynamite, whatever. Let's talk about the fact that Swerve got everything he wanted. Like you said, he got everything he wanted. He's got the man spot. He made him his bitch. Hangman is relegated to the mid card. He had to grow a mustache and start wearing leather jackets to seem cool. Yeah, I love Hangman as a character, but like, they have ruined him by making him look like a schmuck all the time. Swerve has everything he wants, and now he's going to wrestle him again. And why are they wrestling again? Because the ranking says they have to. This is the problem with the ranking. White privilege too. Yeah. Why do these rankings exist if they're going to then wrestle to decide the champion, the number one contender? As far as I am concerned, and what I can tell, Swerve is the number one contender because he is ranked number one. Why is he ranked number one? Because Tony made it up. In his mind, in Tony Khan's mind, this is real. He acts like it's real. Like, the rankings matter. It's a work. He's making it up. Anyone can be the number one contender. Just do that. Stop with this shit. Look at this motherfucker.
Look at him. Like, first
he would come into my DMs and talk to me. And I will say this on Mike, because I feel like I'm in safe company. He came to me when the Swole thing happened. And he said, people respect you. I need you to please support me on Twitter about the Swole thing. And he went on and on and on about how he's a hero and a person of color himself, and he would never be racist and all that stuff. I don't think he's racist. I just think the motherfucker doesn't have a clue how to like interact with human beings. I was like, I will happily say whatever. I'm not going to jerk you off in public, but I'm not going to be mean about it. But I regret that because he tried to clown me at a press conference, mentioning that I worked at WWE and that I didn't deserve to be talking about what I was talking about. He is petulant in public. He's rude to people. And he's a bad booker. The show is unwatchable for me. I'm sorry. He's not a person that I want to interact with.
The devil is Shane McMahon. Like, he's a Shane McMahon devil. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Shane McMahon knew more about wrestling than Tony Khan.
Because he grew up in it. Not like somebody who was like, listen, like, we're not going to act like this wasn't, like, AEW wasn't a Christmas present. Because, you know what I mean?
Shane McMahon.
There you go.
That's
Shane McMahon.
Don't let him go on this tangent.
Shane McMahon knew what he wanted, which is to go over everybody. I'm going to beat the Miz at WrestleMania. Sorry, I got to do it. Tony Khan doesn't know what he wants other than to, like, have matches to watch.
Yeah, but Shane McMahon, Tony Khan didn't put the ring together. Tony Khan didn't play a referee at some time. He didn't sell merchandise in the stores. Like,
Shane McMahon did every job.
Every job that you could do. He's the American dream.
Well, Tony Khan says
I don't know. All right, hold on.
Pause.
I wouldn't.
TK, go ahead, Ben. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay, so I want to take it back. I want to take it back to the Swole thing. Do you think like okay, so he came into your DMs and he told you like, hey, can you kind of soften the blow?
Yeah,
Do you
people
think he
respect
personally? Do you think he personally went around to all the talent that kind of went like 10 toes down and was like, hey, can like that were like Tony Khan would never say something like this because there was a lot of them. There was a lot of them who came and who were coming to, you know, his side and being like, you know, I don't have any problems with AEW. You think that was something that they felt like, okay, I need to stand up? Or do you think he went around personally and asked him like, hey, can you kind of go to bat for me?
Bro, if he came to me, he came to like wrestlers, like real, like important people in wrestling. He didn't just come to me. That was clearly a campaign. Clearly, I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense for him to come into my DMs and try to get me to support him because there are other people who would do it for him. More important people, bigger voices. Could have had anybody do it. He came to me, so that means he probably went to like 12 other people who work there now.
Nah, I'm gonna hit you after the show.
Like that can, you know, then that can vouch for or you know soften the blow, like you said. Right?
Yeah.
Nah, bro. Nah, I got to hit you after the show because this is the questions I want to ask off air. But
I mean, I've already opened the fucking Pandora's box. It is what it is. I'm sure he listens to this too. Yeah, I'll give you an answer or I won't. But we'll see.
Ask it, man. Ask it. What's up?
I kind of think we had the scarlet letter over there after we did the whole Big Swole interview because we were her first interview after like all of that happened and like everything went down. So I kind of feel like that's what I kind of feel like we have the scarlet letter whenever like it comes to like doing stuff.
I don't think he forgets anything. I don't think he's the guy who forgives people or forgets that person wronged him. I think he's got an enemies list. I think he's like he hates, right? I think he is a hateful person to people who do not like what he does. And I say that because you see how he acts with trolls on Twitter, critics of his programming, and wrestlers who don't fall in line with what he wants. And there's a difference between Tony Khan and Vince McMahon. One, Tony Khan is not a rapist as far as I know. I'm sure he isn't. I don't think he's capable of shit like that. I don't think he's an evil person. But I do think that the real big difference besides that is that Vince McMahon knows how to manipulate people. Vince McMahon knows how to get what he wants from somebody who doesn't want to give Vince what he wants. Tony Khan sees somebody who doesn't want to give Tony Khan what he wants, and he's like, I'm just going to ether this motherfucker because he's a message board guy. He was probably on the same message boards I was on when I was first watching wrestling in my teens, and he probably was throwing bombs at people and saying fucked up shit and insulting people because that felt good to him. It made him feel powerful. Vince McMahon belittled people, tore people down, fucked with their heads, but he was able to also build them up. Like he knew how to manipulate and take advantage of people. Tony Khan doesn't have any of that, to my knowledge.
Both of them niggas
two different types of billionaires.
Yeah, they're both spoiled.
Two different types of billionaires. One of them, you didn't have your daddy in your life for a portion of time. The other one, your daddy was there the whole time and he gave you everything that you ever wanted. And look how you act, you know what I'm saying, if you don't get what you want.
But
yep, the other one.
Me and Graham talked about how Tony was talking to some of them Jacksonville Jaguars players, and we were like, yo, who the fuck do you think you talking to? And we were like, yo, who? Like, listen, like, yo, where's your dad at? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, you ain't nothing but the receptionist of the family.
If you're going to come to me and ask me for something, or you're going to want my approval, whatever, respect me. In every interaction with Tony Khan that I've ever had, it was disrespectful. It would be mountains of fucking DMs about whatever. You know, I criticized the show once and he just came at me like, actually, here's why Hangman didn't succeed as a champion. And here's this, and this.
with an actually, here's why.
Yeah, he would actually me over and over again about And then I would just like punt. I would just be like, "You're right, man. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to be so fucked up to you or like hurt your feelings or whatever." But I realized that was disrespect. That he couldn't hear what I was saying. He needed to have me hear what he was saying. And there's no creative relationship. There's no business relationship where you act like that, where you just steamroll people, where you don't listen to what they have to say. I've had to work really hard for everything that I have in my career. And I have to eat a lot of shit, and I have to listen to people, and I have to collaborate, and I have to be, a partner in creative situations. Tony Khan doesn't have to do that.
So that's somebody that you've like never like actually worked with, right? But
Tony,
like, had interactions with just based on the nature of the business, right? But
yeah, I've talked to Tony Khan more than I ever talked to Vince, but I worked for Vince.
So what were your like personal interactions like with Vince, if any?
Oh, thank God I never had to talk to him directly. Like there are obviously like at WWE layers of like access to Vince. My first day, I was told not to be in the production meeting on camera because Vince would be confused why I was there.
They record these production meetings?
It's a live stream between Stamford and
okay.
Yeah, sorry. I was in Stamford, right? And they were in Uncasville or whatever, like some town, for SmackDown.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it was like, no, man, we checked. You can't be on camera. And I'm like, is that because of my race? Is that because I look too much like Kaz? And he'll think that Kaz is back? Like, why am I not allowed to be on
does he
camera?
know that I don't? Does he not know that I work here now, or like?
Yeah, will he be mad that he wasn't filled in? Like, what's going on?
Whoa!
Who is this nigger? I don't understand. I didn't understand it, but it was my first window into like, oh, this is weird. Doesn't he know? And then I think I've told the story before on other podcasts, but like in the conference room after the HR presentation, it was just me and the HR person, black woman. She's like, now that we're alone, I just want you to know that if things go wrong, you have problems, please let me know first. It's hard here for people like us. And I'm like, oh, why? Why? Vince says things in the meeting that she didn't say that, but like I came to figure out that like when you're in his office, maybe he'll say some stuff that he shouldn't say. Words he shouldn't say. That kind of thing.
Damn, but his hero is Martin Luther King, man.
I'm not saying Vince McMahon's racist. I'm just saying he's an old guy. I think maybe he was getting senile. Like those text messages he was sending to that woman.
He thought you was Flash Funk, dog. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never seen somebody
do that thing.
Like Vince McMahon loved Flash Funk more than he loved every one of his kids. Flash Funk would come out, he'd be like, "Yeah."
Vince, I don't think Vince is a racist. I think that Vince probably really loves black people in a way that is racist. Without realizing you're being racist, he's dance for me, dance. Oh yeah, everybody's your Booker T. You're so funny. I'm like, all right, what are we talking about? Step and fetch it here for a second. Like I don't know, but I don't think he was a racist.
Think he loves black people kind of like in the same way that like Elvis liked black people. Like, I'm just gonna cherry pick the things that I like.
I would have voted for Obama 3 times if I did that.
God, I got Nick Saban, you know what I mean? Like, who was the other one at Clemson? You know what I'm saying? Dabo. Like, yeah.
Hulk Hogan.
Nah. He loves Young Jeezy, and that's it.
Yeah. That's say the N-word on national television. He sure did.
That's probably what it would have been like on the stream.
With the A, though.
Yeah, it would have been like, who is this nigga? Or what's up, my nigga? Like, it would have been like, you know?
Oh, you got another one.
What side of the coin, you know?
Chocolate. Oh, I love chocolate.
Did Brooks' boyfriend get Trapper of the Year 4 times in a row? I bet you he didn't. No, he didn't.
Come on.
I'm like, Jeezy.
Let's get you in here with Byron.
We probably could have been. I could have been, if I stayed around longer, I might have been on camera as his brother or something.
No,
they look so much alike and they sound alike too.
God.
Can you do a front flip? Nah.
Byron and Dave Saxton.
David
you know
Saxton.
they would have had to give you a work name. Yeah, David
Yeah.
Saxton. They would have had to give you a work name.
I
Yeah,
was
definitely.
on an episode of Raw once before I left.
Wait, what did you do? Wait,
I was in the
you did,
background.
like
You
some
know,
background stuff. Like,
yeah,
of course,
they
it's
do-
always some
they-
some weird stuff with catering or something like that, where it's like
Anybody in a suit who's just hanging out, it's probably a writer or writer's assistant. But Sami Zayn comes back the night after WrestleMania, and he's got to do a shot through the loading dock. And they needed two people to wave at him. It can't be empty. It can't just be like he's going to work. It's got to be like people are there. I really love what they're doing now with the opening of Raw, where like you'll see like Bianca. Well, this is Royal Rumble. Bianca and Tez coming, and it's sort of like the tunnel at a like an NBA game. Like you want to see what they're wearing and stuff. Like it's like it's like in a TNT NBA broadcast. But before, when it was KD and Vince McMahon and all that stuff, it was like, we need extras, something to be like hanging by some boxes. So I just like point at Sami Zayn and I wave at him, and he points and he waves back. So that was my moment to be on Raw.
That's exciting.
Bro, you can imagine you just be like, over there eating, you be like, hey, like what?
Yeah, they should have had me do a fucking pratfall or something. Oh, my bad. Who is that nigger on the screen?
Like, yeah, we about to get Johnny Tapia.
I mean, I love Sam. Sammy's awesome. He's great.
Yeah, he's the truth.
No, Sammy's good. Sammy's good. So what's going on here with WrestleMania? Like as like, and we'll kind of use this to close out our conversation here, I guess. But as we were talking when you first came in, we were talking about like Seth Rollins' injury and what that looks like for WrestleMania, like who he might face. Like are you like tapped in like week to week, or like what's your like I don't know what you're watching like preferences or like how like to tapped in you are, but like do you have any thoughts on like how this WrestleMania shakes out now with like Seth Rollins being injured currently but being able to make the show, and like CM Punk being injured not being able to make the show, and how that kind of changes the landscape?
I'm very tapped in. Wrestling is one of those things where even if like it's not good, you still watch and you still interact. Like even if it's just like I watch the clips on YouTube, or I watch like an hour of it and I turn it off, like I did with Dynamite. Like you just don't give up. And the darkest period of my wrestling fandom was after getting fired. I was like, I'm never watching again. And then of course now I'm back. So WrestleMania this year, they have so much talent. The company right now has never had this level of talent that's not just really good, but like hot and selling merchandise and getting huge reactions when they go in the arena. Never. Jey Uso could be main eventing WrestleMania, but he's probably going to be like the opening match, if that. Like probably him and Jimmy will be in the middle of the card somewhere. That's how good it is. So even though Punk is hurt, probably won't be back till Survivor Series next year. They have so much going on. I don't think Rock is going to be working WrestleMania. I think that Vince McMahon raping people, I think maybe put a dark cloud over WrestleMania this year. And the biggest movie star on the planet's going to just be like, you know what? I'll catch you guys next year. 41. I'll be there. Me and Roman, 41. He's just going to keep punting, moving that ball down the goalpost or down the field. I think it's going to be Seth and Drew. I know there are people who maybe don't like Drew in that spot. They want it to be Gunther. I don't like the idea of Gunther being Intercontinental Champion and competing for another belt. Unless you're gonna merge the belts, which I wouldn't do. I don't think so.
No way.
I think Seth and Drew makes a lot of sense, especially after Drew cut that great promo on Monday. That whole segment was fantastic. Great. I want to see Punk and Drew when he comes back. So I would have Drew crush Seth. I would have him just finally like, okay, now that I've turned heel, I'm just going to destroy you, because he's not holding back anymore. And the more that he is a heel, the stronger he becomes. So I would go there. Cody and Roman, obviously, main event, night 2. Cody's got to go over. You can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
As soon as he won the Royal Rumble, I'm like, what are you going to do? Have him lose again?
Yeah, you can't do that.
No. And Roman doesn't have anybody else to work with.
Mm-hmm.
He has beaten everyone. In some cases twice.
Yeah, he's got to go away for a while after this and kind of come back with another angle, or like they got to freshen up his character a little bit. I feel like
what I wanted to do, and I pitched this to Chris during the Royal Rumble. I was like, if it's going to be Rock and Roman, you do the double turn. You have Roman get turned on by Solo and Jimmy and Heyman. Maybe not Heyman, because Heyman and Brian Gewirtz don't get along, but certainly Solo and Jimmy. Yeah, there's a story. It might even be in Brian's book about them getting into a fight. But have Rock turn heel. Have Jimmy and Solo say, we've been working with this dude since he came back. Yeah. He's the real head of the table. That's where we're going to get the real money. We're going to get the Hollywood money. And Roman, you're not the head of the table. You're not the tribal chief. Oh. Dwayne is a tribal chief. And then he has a whole summer run as the Brock Lesnar part-time champion until SummerSlam at MSG. Him and Cody, because Cody won the briefcase.
Oh, you think
Rock does the job for Cody. Bro. It's bigger. It's honestly bigger if Cody beats The Rock. A heel Rock. Rock was always better as a heel. He's the biggest star on the planet. Have him lose to Cody. We know Rock respects the hell out of Cody Rhodes. I feel like he would happily do a job if it was the right story.
Yeah, but I feel like.
I think you have to move. You have to move the title. You know what I'm saying? Because like since we're getting $28 billion from Netflix. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna put that title on the Netflix side, and then we're gonna have.
There's a draft coming. Don't worry. There's always a draft.
There's always a draft. Like you can have a draft whenever. I used to do fantasy draft on Madden. I used to get out of school, so like a draft could be whatever if you want to do it.
They already put Pat McAfee on Raw.
Yeah, he was on Raw this past Monday. Like, I wonder, like, what that relationship is going to be like going forward. Like, I don't know if he has time, like, weekly to make the sounds like that.
When football starts, now be gone, big dog.
Yeah. We'll find out in August.
Yeah,
we'll find out in August if he's going to stick around or not.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a good point. Huh. Well, you guys got anything else for Dave here? I feel I had a question, but I forgot.
I got a question.
Like we were just kind of going.
You want me to say something else mean about Tony Khan?
Oh,
no,
shit.
We gotta talk about him. Like, I think he's already mad at us enough. Like I want to say about like Drew McIntyre. Like is Drew McIntyre like because he literally was like he looked somebody in their face was like, yo, I prayed that you got hurt.
That was so good. That was the best. That was the best heel line of all time. He was like that meme of that guy, in the like what? Who's that black dude in the meme where he's just like posing with his sunglasses on?
Oh yeah, it was,
you know what I mean.
Like, at my hater's funeral, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, he's a hater at the funeral. It was so good.
You guys are talking about the picture of Fendi, like at his haters funeral?
Is that what that is?
It's like
I don't know where it came from.
I think it's Fendi, like Nicki Minaj's ex-manager or whatever. Like
he was there with Blade. He had Blade sunglasses on. Like
somebody put Drew McIntyre's face on that.
They got that's fire.
It was such a fucking devastating line, and that's the stuff that makes wrestling fun. Is when like the heels can be really evil, man.
And then like it's also like because like I'm bigger than you. Oh, and then like listen, like even if you were healthy, I would beat your ass anyway, big dog. Like so, like listen, I'm glad that you're hurt. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, that's a heel, man. That is what's missing is like that sadisticness, that sociopathic behavior, and that pleasure that they take in being evil. Roman isn't evil necessarily. Roman is cruel and he's a gaslighter as a character. He's not evil.
Yeah, I feel like they got to get back to like some of like the layers that like Roman had as a character at the beginning in the early stages of this tribal chief character. Like when like he was like Ben, you had posted the clip the other day of like Hell in a Cell thing where he was like crying and like,
his best match.
Like, and he was just like going through it and like he flips the switch and you know like
I was sucked into that, man. I was sucked into that match because I'd been out for a while. Because that was like, 2020 after I gotten fired, and I was like, I'm not watching this shit anymore. And then everybody was like, you gotta watch. Roman's doing the best work of his career. And then that match happened. And yeah, he just does this like fucking crazy switch from like being like truly broken up about what he had to do to so self-satisfied and evil. And that's, we've lost it all. Roman's now just like coasting.
He's more like one-dimensional now. Like he doesn't have like, it's just, I'm the tribal chief, and
it's over.
One dimensional.
Like,
is it like?
Oh God, I don't want to say
like
that.
This.
I don't want to. I don't.
Yeah, no. Roman's got his fucking gimmick.
Is it like
down
this?
Is it like this?
It might be like.
Is it like that?
Is it like this?
5 moves of death now?
Yo,
is it?
Listen, Stone Cold. Listen, Stone Cold. Stone Cold is like big meat.
Yeah, the one putting the ones up is like because the same thing is like he has the character down. He was looking for it, he found it, and now he's just using that to coast.
Yeah,
it's too bad, but I think he's due for a babyface turn, and that's why I would have flipped him at WrestleMania. It would have been fucking legendary to see that.
That would have been fire. Yeah, but
eventually Gretzky was like, listen, man, I'm gonna get 3 goals a game anyway, so like, I mean, whatever. You know what I mean?
He's cashing checks all day, selling merchandise like crazy. The houses have never been better since the 90s. Like,
also why keep the Super Bowl?
Is he Pat Mahomes?
I don't know, man. This guy's good. He's good. I don't know.
They loved him so much they gave him the script to the Super Bowl.
Yo, he's a Niners fan. Listen, like if I see Roman in a Purdy jersey,
you think he'll go to Super Bowl? You think Roman's got to get in the box?
He ain't got nothing else to do. I ain't going to Perth.
He's not wrestling.
Me or my cousin. Hey, well, listen, neither one of us is going to Perth, my nigga. We're going to Vegas because it's closer. So, like, whatever's going on, I'm going over there. I might be there for the Pro Bowl. You know what I'm saying? I might put the belt on. Trayvon Diggs or whatever.
That is hilarious. Like like introduce like a Netflix title or something like that, and like put that on R-Truth.
Yeah, they should. WWE should sponsor the Pro Bowl games next year and give a belt out.
Have a black person talking about it. That's what they always do. It was like, yo, Kofi, can you go talk about something?
Where is Titus O'Neil?
Titus O'Neil SmackDown host in about 6 months.
Poor Big E is just like go out and make an appearance and wave. I hope he comes back to wrestle.
If they don't have a Super Bowl commercial next year with bringing Raw to Netflix, just weeks prior, like I feel like they gotta. I feel like they gotta like make a real big leap and a jump and a splash into like this promotional effort for this transition to taking Raw, their flagship show, off of television and putting it on exclusive streaming. Like that's a big move.
They got the money to spend on that ad. They are making more money than they ever have in the history of WWE.
They put Tua in a Paramount commercial, so like you could definitely put Bianca and fucking Montez in a Netflix commercial coming up soon, 2025, especially for like Black Friday. Like what?
Well, Dave, it's been great talking to you here this evening.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the can of worms that we opened up with the conversation that we had was far more greater than I expected. Like,
you caught me on the right day where I just honestly, taking no prisoners, no fucks given. It's all out there.
I like that. We got to do this again. We definitely got to do this again. I thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Anything that you got going on that you want to like announce or that you want the people to know about, like, where to catch you or where to see you next or where to
if you still work at WWE, let me know what the high score is on the pinball machine. Yeah, and you can follow me on Threads at DW Schilling. You follow me on X or Twitter at Dave_Schilling. We'll see what I do next.
Love it. Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining us once again. We got to do it again. I'll be in contact, definitely, 100%, man. Peace out, man. Thanks so much for joining us. Hey, bro, you have a good one, bro. Be smooth.
You're not beating my score, my nigga.